Welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. I'm Greg Burke, and now in my 24th year as Director of Athletics at Northwestern State University, creating an environment in which student athletes and young professionals can develop skill sets to make them successful in any walk of life is invaluable. Mentors can provide an extra measure of confidence by helping them grow, by seeking their input, and by listening to their ideas. This and much more can be found in Will Baggett and Ty Brown's book, The Blueprint for a Successful Career, a foundation for developing young professionals. Find it on Amazon.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on social media at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Cathy Rossi. Cathy is the Deputy Director of Athletics at University of Wisconsin Milwaukee. Greetings, Cathy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ty. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Cathy, you've been in college athletics for 16 years now, and your background, you've done budget and finance in Minnesota, assistant AD for business operations at Richmond, and a number of other business and financial management type roles in college athletics. So you have a wealth of experience. I wonder, the role of Deputy Director of Athletics, can you tell us a little bit about what that role consists of, in addition to the budgeting and the financial management that you do there at Wisconsin Milwaukee?
Sure. So my background is in business and finance. So I manage the budget here at Milwaukee. I've been doing that. Obviously, I've been here for about 4 years now. So budget management. I also have some sport oversight, which is pretty common. I oversee volleyball, women's tennis, and men's and women's track and cross country. And then we do some secondary sport supervision roles here. So I work with the basketball program. They primarily report to our athletic director, but I also work very closely with that program. In addition to that, I'm kind of the liaison across campus with various different departments and areas, being some of them being HR, purchasing and accounting. I also spend a lot of time on some leadership cabinet within student affairs, which is the division that athletics reports up through. So I just kind of spend a bit more time engaging with different individuals across campus than maybe I would in just a assistant AD role.
Right. Well, it sounds like you got your hands in a little bit of a lot, right?
Right. Yep.
Now, Cathy, looking at all those previous experiences, obviously your expertise is budgets and financial management, right, in athletics. I wonder, when you're assessing a job you've taken and assessing the financial health of an athletics department, what are some of the things that you look at initially?
Yeah, I mean, I know as you mentioned, I've been at several different institutions whose budgets are very different. So from University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, which were around a $10 to $12 million budget, whereas at Minnesota, it was at the time around $110 million when I was there. I think it's probably closer to $150 million with some of that Big Ten money they're receiving these days. But I think at the base level, it's the first thing you really want to look at is how much is your institution supporting athletics on that campus. Obviously, the need for support from campus is different at every school, financial support, that is, but just being at an institution that understands the value of athletics and wants your department to be successful, I think that's really important to kind of figure out when you're looking at a position or trying to get into the world of college athletic business. So if being an assistant AD or an associate AD for business is something that interests you, I think that's really important to kind of gauge how well that institution is supporting athletics. Because I think at the end of the day, whether or not you get $1 million, at like 10% of your budget from campus, or like us here at Milwaukee, we get almost 75% of our budget is through student fees. So that's the support of the students. Whether you're looking at 10% of your budget or 75% of your budget coming from campus, they're still going to be the ones kind of bailing you out if you have any sort of financial troubles throughout the year. So it's really important to know how your campus feels about athletics and its success.
coming into the position? Is there any way to find out that information before taking the type of job that you have now, or even before you went to Minnesota, or before you were moved into the position there at Richmond?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a few questions that you can ask through the interview process. Although anytime you interview, it's pretty common for athletic departments to kind of, anyone you're talking to just kind of praise the institution and always say that, yes, they're supportive of athletics. I think everybody wants to feel that way. Maybe what things have happened in the past when there's been financial challenges and that sort of thing, just to kind of, just get a sense of where they might be. The other thing that is important to also look at is an athletic department's ability to generate revenue. So, a place like Minnesota and any Power 5, Big 10, you're really reliant on ticket sales and seat donations and things like that. Whereas at Milwaukee, we're not bringing in significant amounts of money from someone's seat license or seat donation. So getting a sense of what your department's abilities are to raise money, whether that be through corporate sponsorships or other relationships built with donors, as in major gifts and that sort of thing. So I think it's important to kind of have the ability to see where those kind of generated revenues could come in and where they have the potential to grow to.
Right. That seems like a very important part of the job, especially, I guess, if you're interviewing, they're probably not going to open the books up to you, but as much information as you can find out will help you know if this is the job for you, right? In terms of how much problem solving you'll have to do and how much can you grow, those kind of things.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Excellent. When I asked all the things under your umbrella, you named a number of different things in addition to finance and budgeting and business. I wonder, someone who's in a deputy role, you being the number two, probably have to run things if Amanda, the athletics director, is out and you're making things happen, right? Talk to me about how you balance all the responsibilities that go along with being number two and doing all the responsibilities you have at a high level.
Sure. Being in the business around, I guess, 15, 16 years now, the finance stuff has been my wheelhouse for all of those years. So that stuff starts to come a little easier to me now. So, you get in your routine, you kind of know what you're supposed to be working on during different times of the year. And that's not to say it doesn't come with challenges, because it always does. But that starts to come a little easier now, which frees up some time to kind of focus on some of those deputy AD roles. It's different everywhere you go, obviously. Different deputy ADs will have different responsibilities and expectations that their athletic director might have of them. But I think the most important quality or characteristic to have is really just being able to have your athletic director really trust in the decisions that you're making. So it's really important that your AD feels that they can believe in you and trust that you're going to make decisions that are consistent with a decision that they would likely have made. And I think that takes a little bit of time, but it's really important to build that relationship with your athletic director. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier as well, just being more present on campus and in the community. I do a lot more of that now than I have in other roles at other institutions. So just getting to know different community members and kind of spreading the message and the brand of Milwaukee athletics throughout the Milwaukee community and the campus community as well.
Right. It's important. Now, you came on about 3 years ago, I guess, 2016, there at Wisconsin Milwaukee. And I imagine that Amanda had you as someone she wanted to bring on after being there for a few years. And then you come into the deputy role. So I don't know if you guys had a previous relationships, but you still had to build the trust that you can do the job of the number two. Talk to me about how you were able to do that. I mean, obviously, you mentioned being visible, doing the job you were primarily hired to do at a high level. But talk to me about the trust building process over the first 1.5 to 2 years there at Milwaukee.
Amanda and I, we did know each other. We're both originally Wisconsinites, so we've both been around a little bit. But
okay.
We had some mutual colleagues that she had worked with at Northeastern and I had worked with at the College of William & Mary as well as at University of Richmond. So we just kind of had a few peers that we knew. So when she got the job in Milwaukee, I would come home to Wisconsin every now and then from Richmond, and we would have lunch or get together. So just tried to get to know her a little bit previous to working here. So that was positive. But then, Yeah, I've worked with a lot of different people and personalities. I think me moving around, going to a few different athletic departments. I had 2 athletic directors when I was at University of Richmond. I also reported to the deputy athletic director at one point, so 3 different supervisors there, and another one then at Minnesota, and another boss at the College of William and Mary when I was there. So I've gotten used to working with a lot of different personalities, and so you just gotta kind of take, like you said, that first year or 2 to really kind of understand where they come from a philosophical standpoint. And I think with Amanda specifically, I probably wouldn't have taken the job if I felt like philosophically we were on different wavelengths. So it was good to kind of, get a sense of that prior to taking the job. And then, just learning in that first year or 2 kind of the decisions that she typically makes and trying to be consistent there. And it's not as though I go around making just decisions across the board within our department without consulting her. It's just, depending on how much time you have or whether she's available and that sort of thing. So you try to be sure that you're kind of spreading the message that you think she would be spreading as well.
Right. So you had to learn that as well as she had to learn you, and it ended up being a good relationship to
absolutely
do things like where you do now. Looking at your bio, it looks as if you started off in ticket sales, and a number of us in athletics were told when we were young and first starting out that ticket sales is a great place to start in sports. Can you give us some insight on how starting in that area has helped prepare your career to where you are now?
Sure. It's interesting. I was told that same thing when I took internship.
Right.
I got my master's degree at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, and I got to know the assistant AD for business there at the time, who was Mark Brown. He's currently the athletic director at Pace University, just outside of New York City, and he gave me that same advice. I'd moved to Virginia not really knowing anybody, and then this internship at Boston College opened up, and I thought, well, I don't know anybody in Boston. Why would I go up there and work in tickets when business, the business office is really where I want to be? And he said the exact same thing you said, that it was a great place to start. And I think specifically because you're working with money and numbers and balancing your drawers and that sort of thing, he thought it would give me a good experience if the business side of things was the way I wanted to go. So I took his advice and moved to Boston College, and I still wasn't quite sure. I remember thinking, like, tickets isn't really what I want to do. But it was a good experience, I think, going to a Power 5 institution that was, at the time, they were actually in the Big East. The next year, they were transitioning to the ACC. So that was a kind of a fun experience to be around as well, just from a brand and messaging standpoint, the way they handled that. But I think, just like anything, it's really the relationships that you build when you're doing these things. I think my time at Boston College, I did a good job of showing kind of the administrators there that, I worked really hard and I was committed to everything that I was doing. And, you get kind of lucky. Gene DiFilippo was the athletic director at Boston College at the time, and he was great with all of the interns that they brought through there. He told us flat out he was willing to be a reference for us, and he was really great about kind of getting to know you a little bit in and around the office. He would stop in, I think almost every day he would come in and say hello in the ticket office, just generally to our team. And then Mark Brown at Old Dominion, he was another reference of mine, and the first job that I got was actually at the College of William and Mary. So my boss at the time was Frank Hardiman. He was the hiring manager. Frank left William and Mary. He was at Georgia Tech for a while as their CFO. But Frank saw he worked with Gene DiFilippo at Villanova, and he knew Mark Brown because they were in the same league at the time in the CAA. So, I think he had a comfortability in those two people knowing me and knowing that I was going to work really hard. So
relationships are important. What was the position at William and Mary?
It was entry level was an athletic business manager. So I did a lot of the team travel and equipment and those types of things, just kind of the day-to-day supporting the coaches with their reimbursements and that sort of thing.
Did you find that the time in ticket sales translated somewhat to your first job? Were there skills that you brought with you?
I would say a little bit of the skills, but the major skills that I had that helped me be successful were just my organizational skills, my ability to communicate with the coaches, and just having, general kind of a business mindset. And I think when you kind of have that ticket office experience, that you've been able to, kind of manage money on a very cursory level. So it does kind of translate there. But really it's about, like you said, getting to know the right people, and then showing everywhere you go, showing people that that you have the skills to be successful in whatever they throw at you.
Right. So it sounds like sales was just showing that you can exist in a business environment, and then your natural inclination towards organization, towards understanding a business, towards attention to detail and communication and getting to know people helped you progress to where you are now. It sounds like you're doing great things, and your career is something to look at for those out there who think about starting in tickets or who actually want to work in business on the way to possibly being an athletics director. I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership podcast.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me, Tai.
That was Cathy Rossi. She is the Deputy Director of Athletics at University of Wisconsin Milwaukee. And of course, this is Tai Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.